All right, today we're going to do weekly challenge number 10. It's pretty straightforward. They give you two principal field values, a time in and a time out. And all they want you to do is find that duration and report it in days, hours, minutes, and seconds. And so to give this some flavor, to give the data set some flavor, what we're looking at here is we're finding values from a distribution center. And so when the center receives a package, it timestamps it, and then it timestamps it again when it goes out. And so using these values, this fictional company is trying to see if they can capture any efficiencies. That is, they want to analyze how long a package sits at this distribution center and see if it's sitting there for too long. And then if it is, they can do whatever they need to do, policies or whatever, to hopefully minimize that delta. So what we're trying to do here is find a difference in DateTime values. And so to my knowledge, I don't know of any special tool that specializes in that in Alteryx, where it can find you the duration, and it can also kind of bucket bucket that duration into convenient values of days, hours, minutes, and seconds, kind of like a regex tool type thing, regex if you will here. They have a DateTime tool, but the DateTime tool is not for any calculations. It's purely for formatting. And so if you click here and click on example, what you'll see here is the DateTime tool transforms DateTime data to and from a variety of formats. So the DateTime tool would not be the one to use if you were not familiar with it and you kind of saw and you're like, maybe this is the answer. But at the same time, like, I don't know if there is one out there because there's so many tools out there that, I could just be missing it. So in light of that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the formula tool, because I know that within the formula tool there are a lot of DateTime expression functions that can get me to where I need to go. So I'm going to first connect it here, right? And in order to find the difference, I'm going to have to use the DateTime expression. If you use the select tool, what you'll see is that both these values, the timestamp and time now, are in DateTime formats. And so what you might be tempted to do first and foremost is to just straight up subtract it. But as it just so happens to be, Alteryx is not built to do it that way. So if you try to do it, all right, that's some weird stumbling. If you try to subtract, it's just going to error out. Time now minus timestamp. Oops. So you see here it's already errored out, but when you run it, it'll give you a invalid type and subtract operator. It's going to error out because, simply put, that's just not how you do it. And so what we're going to have to use, if we're using the formula tool, is we're going to have to use a DateTime difference expression. So, DateTime diff. And when you use this expression, you need three variables. You need the two date values and then the unit of measure. Okay, so the two date values are going to be, the first one is always what you're subtracting from, or what you're subtracting, so time now, okay? Oops. And also, if you get the order wrong, you can always just flip it. You'll know because your values will be inverted. And so next is the unit of measure. So in this case, you have to look back to your problem and see what you're trying to do. So we want to take the duration and we want to convert it to days, hours, minutes, and seconds. And so because seconds is the smallest value, we're going to have to do it in seconds, because that's how we bucket up. If I convert this all to difference in days, well, I guess you could. It'd just be a little bit more tedious. If I converted days and went backwards, I could do that, I guess. And I guess it goes back to the idea of, building workflows is kind of an art, so there really is no wrong answer. In any case, I'm gonna do it from seconds. So I'm gonna just find the duration in seconds. You could do it in other durations. That wouldn't be wrong. So yeah, I'll stop there. So using the DateTime diff, I have now found the duration in seconds. They're all positive values, so I put the order correctly. I also want to put this as an integer value. I'll do a float for now. And so now I need to go backwards. I have it all in seconds, but I need to subtract all these values backwards. I need to first find it in how much equivalent it is in days, hours, and minutes. So if you see here, days, hours, and minutes, and then seconds. It's no good to me as a huge bucket of seconds. So let's start the conversion. So first we need to convert it to total equivalent days. So that's pretty simple. You need to first just divide seconds by how many seconds there are in a day. So that value I don't know off the top of my head, but what I can do is I know how to use Google, and I could just make a reference here. So I know that 1 day is equivalent to A6400 0 sec. All right, 1 hour is equal to 3600 sec. 1 minute equals 60 sec. So we can do that as my reference. I just do it here. So we'll do total duration divided by A6400. We'll make this a float as well. And we'll see that that is equivalent to about 4.8 days. Now, we don't want perfect numbers. We want realistic numbers. And more to the point, we want full numbers. And so we can't use 4.8. What we need to do is we need to use the closest measure of that, the closest number to that measure, in which case it's going to be 4. And the reason why it's not 5, even though it's 4.8, is because this is not, if anything, it is more 4 days than it is 5 days. And because we have smaller buckets, we know that we can further convert this leftover 0.88 into its more correct values. If I rounded it up to 5, there would be, if that was the acceptable answer, there would be no need to go to hours, minutes, seconds, because we'd be done. But because we know that we have to convert down to lower ones, and also because of the logic of, like, I guess how you define a day and stuff, we want to find the bottom, we want to round to the lowest value. Okay, so to do that, we're going to use this formula called floor. All right, oops, not formula, expression called floor, and all it does is it just rounds to the lowest bottom. Okay, so this answer used to be 4.88. I'm going to run it. It is now 4. Okay, so we are on our way. Now we need to find how many minutes are available, but we need to calculate that from the difference. It's that 0.88 difference we need to calculate. So in order to get that, we need to recalculate how much 4 days is equivalent to in seconds. Okay, so we'll call this day secs. We'll call this days times 86400. Do that. So 4 days, this new value is equivalent to about 345,600. Okay, so that's what we used up to calculate these 4 days. So we need the difference between 422,000 and 345 to calculate. That's the remainder to calculate how much hours is left over, and so on and so forth. So to do that, so to get hours, that's exactly what we'll do. We'll just do total duration divided or subtracted by day sec. Okay, and what this is going to give us is how many seconds are left to calculate hours. Okay, so I'm going to put this in brackets because I'm going to use this later, and also it doesn't hurt it. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to divide this by how many seconds there are in an hour, 3600, and see how many hours that is equivalent to. And we're going to make this a float because that's this integer value. Is this integer value? Yep. We're going to calculate it. And you see here the output is 21.28 hours. And so similar to the logic behind days, we're going to round it down. So we'll do this. So floor. Okay. We'll run it. And so what? Why did it not work? Floor. Oh, too many brackets. Floor. Okay. So now it's a flat 2100. But similar to before, we want to find what that value truly is in seconds so that we can kind of calculate. We're going to do hours sec. We'll do hours multiplied by 3600. Float. Okay, so 21 hours is equivalent to about 75600 seconds. That's how many we use. Okay, so now to get to minutes, we need to now find the difference of 422 subtracted by 345 subtracted by 75, because we used about 345,000 to get days, 75,000 to get hours, and 75,000 to get hours, and so we need the leftover to calculate minutes. So to do minutes, we're going to do something like this. I'm going to steal this. All right. So from the total duration, we take away the amount of seconds in a day, and then we also take the hour sec, like I was saying. And that leaves us with a remainder of 1,008 seconds, or low, for minutes. All right. And so with that value, we just divide by 60, and that should be how many minutes available, 16.8. And then let's floor it again. All right, add that one, run it. Minutes, 16 minutes, we're almost there. Let's find how many seconds that's equivalent to. minutes. Oops, there is a data mismatch here. So I'll do float. Okay. Okay, so we have stripped 16 minutes from the remainder. That's equivalent to 960. And so this is really the, really, that seems high. 960. No, that doesn't make sense, because if there was 960 seconds left, you could have changed that to minutes. What's going on here? Floor 16. Oh gosh, no, I'm dumb. This is 960 is the equivalent of 16 minutes. So I need to now subtract this, add this to this to this, and then subtract from total duration to find out ultimately how many seconds we have left over. So we'll call this seconds. We'll do this. So total duration minus days, hours, and then now minus minutes. And that should give us how many seconds are remaining. We run it. 48 seconds. That makes sense. Yeah, none of these values should be greater than 60. Otherwise, it would have been stripped into the minutes. Okay. And so this should be our answer. And so one way to check this is you can do some QA. And so what I mean by that is if all this math worked out, when you add all these together, they should add up to this. So we're going to do that. We're going to call this sum check. All right. And we're just going to do day sec plus hour sec plus minute sec plus seconds. Let's see how many that is. So without knowing this, it should add up to this one. Okay. So here's some values. I'm not really too sure if they are. So what I'm going to also do is I'm going to do this. True, false. All right. What I'm going to do is if sum check is equal to total duration, just give me true. That doesn't allow me. We'll just say true, otherwise false. Oops, why did that not work? Total duration, float, sum check. Oh, this has to be a float. There we go. This should work. All right, they're all true. So yeah, so this at least tests and checks if the math works out, and it does. So it gives me confidence that, you know, at least the math does work in that sense. And then the next part is just kind of cleaning it up. So really, we don't need any of the seconds. That was really just to check things out. So let's rerun that. Oops, let me pull off day. And so my output is now this. So well, I don't need total duration either. Days, hours, minutes, and seconds. And let's compare it to this. There's something slightly off, but actually even when you toggle between, you can see that there's something different here. The principle is the same. The numbers are most likely off because their solution values are off. And I said this in my other videos, because this is kind of a community effort, it is common for there always to be some kind of weird thing going on with the input file or the output solution file. It's not a big deal. More often than not, your answers all work out. Sometimes it doesn't. In our case, it's so close. Look at it. It's 4 days, 21 hours, 16 minutes versus 4 days, 21 hours, and 17 minutes. If you look at here, the difference is about a minute. Look, it's 8 hours, 8 p.m., 24:35 versus 8 p.m., 25:16. So that probably is the difference between, because it looks like it's just like a minute difference. So for all intent and purposes, this is the solution. And that is how you do that. So pretty easy, a little bit tricky on how to get into the buckets, but otherwise pretty good.